Thank you.
Okay, good evening, everybody. Thank you for being here. Try to keep the meeting crisp tonight. Everybody wants to go to the beach. Is open now till 10 o'clock. So we'll start with the usual admonition and question. Is anybody, if anybody's video or taping the meeting, could they please make themselves known? No, there's nobody's raising. Okay, we're ready to go. Thank you. Could we start with a roll call? Start with you, Maureen.
Maureen Piccioni.
Bill Carey.
Pete Sampu.
Hannah Lawrence, Sandy Neck Assistant Park Manager.
Donna Bragg.
And Tom O'Neill. Thank you, everybody. Okay, the minutes from April 10th. Anybody have any questions, additions, deletions? Otherwise, if not, we'll...
Make a motion to approve as written.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you. Just quick notes from the chair. It's a little new addition we put in the agenda. I did check on the ever delayed appointment of the to the Sandy Neck Board from the Rec Committee. I sent a note out probably about a month ago and was told, yeah, it's coming. And a month later, it's still nothing. And I see they have a 7-man board, or 7-person board. So I sent another note last week saying, this is pretty unacceptable. Could you please fill the vacancy? And I haven't heard anything back, just crickets since then. So I'm going to write a letter formally to Pauline, I think it's Paula Schnepp, who's the appointments committee head. I had spoken or written to her once 3 or 4 months ago about this. So I'm going to write another letter to her requesting that they post this. They have people that they've interviewed. I'm sure there's candidates lined up for Sandy Neck. So we, according to the regulations, they can appoint another person that's not on the rec committee, and that person would just represent the rec committee and liaise with them on issues. So once again, I'm going to try to, we're coming up on the year anniversary. I don't understand why when you have 6 members, you can't appoint somebody. But in any event, I'm going to send another letter to Paula and see if we can't get somebody to do something to get this vacancy filled, because it's really unacceptable, particularly not only given the amount of time it's taken, but the urgency of some of the stuff that we're working on. So that's the little update on that, which is no update, really. So with that, we'll move on to correspondence. Anything?
No, sir.
Okay. Staff report, you're going to do that, Hannah? Oh, there we go.
All right, so just a quick couple updates. The gatehouse hours are currently still at 9 to 3:30. Once we have, full staff, we'll reassess and the hours will be updated. Right now, the off-road vehicle beach, the hours are 8 to 10. So reminder, you can have campfires. They can start at 7 o'clock or sunset, whichever comes first. Right now, that is 7 o'clock. The speed limit on the off-road beach is a strict 5 miles an hour. We do have plovers all over the beach. So, really are getting on top of folks that are speeding. We don't need to have any more issues with vehicles going too fast and hitting any of the birds.
Before you leave that, so the first bullet point, what would it normally be? Would it be 3:30, or because it's not fully staffed?
No, because when we get full staff, it'll be 8 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Okay, but because you're not fully staffed.
It's me.
Okay.
It's just me.
Yeah.
I'm fine.
So with that being said about the plovers, we will have more updates coming. It's just a little bit too early in the season right now to have a clear picture of what we're looking at. And reservations for camping, both tenting and RVs, are live on the website. The new merchandise is in.
Could you just clarify one thing for me? I was asked by somebody the other day, the halfway house can only be rented by nonprofit groups, is that correct?
Yes.
So a private citizen, or if you're an art club or something, you can't rent it. It has to be a 503C of some kind, or does it have to be?
The Art Association does rent. Actually, if you go onto the Sandy Neck website, it gives under the halfway house, it gives you multiple pages of requirements in order to do.
So you don't have to be technically a legal nonprofit. You just have to be some organization of some kind that has
Correct.
validity or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
So I did bring some of our new merch to show off today.
Oh.
Yep, so we got our new
That's you, Donna. I
SNK
think that's you.
bucket hats.
Wait, on the back.
Oh, yes.
These are great. These are really good. What else we got?
Wow.
All right, so new ball cap, so we actually also have it in the inverse colors as well. So that one, obviously navy and white, and then we have a white with navy.
Now, this is the
lettering on that.
old-timey Sandy Neck script. You guys remember this, right? The old time. What else? Go ahead.
Retro stuff.
So instead of sweatpants this year, we do have pajama pants. So these have been certainly popular so far.
Everybody requested it. We have it with the Sandy Neck Cottage Colony and Lighthouse. We have the T-shirts.
Very cool.
Some good choices.
Who does your design work?
Well, it's bidded out, but advanced embroidery, and they work really well with us. We kind of give them we throw it out there. This is what we're kind of looking for, and then they send us a bunch of different designs, and then we pick.
So they actually do the design work? Advanced embroidery? Okay.
They're really good, yeah.
Next, we've got this tee, the Sandy Neck script, so a little bit different this year. We also have that in a hooded tee, so we'll bring that up in a minute.
2023 very popular ORV T-shirt. Always got to have the sticker. Yeah. So the color that was chosen was hot pink, and we were like, white and hot pink, and we're not doing it. So we decided to do this. Hannah came up with this idea to do it like that, and I thought, yay, great idea.
So we got a couple different options. It's a long sleeve, like hooded t-shirt, so it's nice and lightweight with the new Sandy Neck fun logo. And that one's embroidered.
Got this with the hoodie. It's flashier. You like that? Yeah. Yeah. So far, we've gotten a very good response from folks when they've come in.
All right, and then a new one for the kids this year. We've got a little like sun shirt, hooded sun shirt with the turtles on the
Oh,
sleeve
down the
and on
arm,
the
too.
front. Yeah. So I already bought one for my kid.
I already bought pie.
Yeah. So that's another popular one that we got this year.
Yes.
So we do have more sweatshirts coming in, as Donna mentioned. But right now we've got a lot of tees and a crew neck with the lighthouse on it for this year.
Can you tell us approximately what the cost is?
T-shirts are $25. The hoodie lightweights are $30. The hats are $30, including the bucket hat.
Okay.
And the pajama bottoms are 30 also, yeah, 30, 30, 30 across
And then
the whole thing.
55 for
So you take
sweatshirts.
MasterCard, Visa?
We do.
Yep.
Yep.
Beads and shells, whatever you want to bring, yep.
Okay, wampum, okay, that sounds good.
All right, so last up, just a couple of the projects that we do have ongoing. I know folks were interested in hearing. So we do pretty much on a year-to-year basis the seed collection with the Native Plant Trust and spadefoot toad disease surveillance. This is a new application that's that's still pending state permitting, but it's going to be a collaborative project through UMass Boston. There was actually also another request that just came in today for a different, I think it was,
Lone Star Tick.
yes.
Yep.
So those are our current research projects that we've got going on.
Cool. So what is the collection, the seed collection? What's that mean?
So it's the scientists from the Native Plant Trust. They go out and collect the different species, in order to preserve those species of plants.
Interesting.
Or like a
And
seed
that's been
bank.
going on for a while.
Yes, I don't. Do you know when that
Like
started?
3 years, as far as I
Okay.
know, and they come out periodically and give us a list of where they're going to go. But they're heritage, so these are great seeds that are going to be preserved. So you'll never go away.
But they lose their viability, right? So that's why they have to keep going out?
They go after different targets.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not always the same species of plant. They're going after a whole bunch of different ones. I mean, that's a lot of area to cover.
Hopefully, they're not collecting any Phragmites.
No.
Or poison ivy.
Probably picking up a little on the way, though.
All right, so that pretty much is all I've got for the staff report for this evening.
Okay, thanks, Hannah. Any questions for Hannah? Okay, we'll come back to this in a minute, the conservation discussion. The only thing I had, Bill couldn't be here tonight, but he did just give me a quick update on the projects that he's working on with the Boy Scouts. I'll just read it. It's probably the easiest thing. Let's see. Jordan Munoz is moving forward with his plan to build benches in the Sandy Neck garage on May 20th, provided the town can obtain the required materials by that date. Don't know if you guys you're on it. Okay.
Already been ordered, yes.
Great. Please let me know if there are any questions or concerned about the list provided to Hannah. Apparently not. While he expects to install the benches the same day, I suspect that it may require another day to complete the project. So he's on it, and looks like we'll have those fairly quickly by the summer, which is nice. So good job, Jordan. Okay, so the meat of tonight is really the issue of just having a quick discussion on the project. Obviously, the project, I think by most people's estimations, is going really well so far. Those of us who have the scars of 6-7 years ago know how difficult these projects can be, and this may still be a difficult project, but so far, I think the project team has done a reasonably good job, pretty good job of managing this project through the various kinds of hurdles you have to do when you're doing something like this. Obviously, lots of stakeholders. You've got lots of interested people, in terms of the town. There's funding issues, there's permitting issues, there's public issues. So it's a complex project. And I think, the progress that's been made so far has been really excellent. Public's been very involved. We've had 2 public meetings, 3 actually, if you count the 2 earlier in January. 150 people participating. I think they've received, in addition to that, good feedback from the public, from letters and stuff. And I think the core of the project, which has always been the parking lot and saving that and making sure we do the best we can to save that parking lot, has really been, I think, well supported by, everybody involved in the project, both the team, and on the team there are people, from CZM, and we've also had at least one meeting with regulators, but also the public, which is important. There's been very little, if any, really negative feedback on the parking lot movement. As you all know, I don't want to spend a lot of time in detail tonight because this project is still in its 30% design level, so we're not going to get into the weeds today in detail. But the important thing, I think, is, and what I'm suggesting tonight, is that the board vote on this new recommended alternative that the project team has voted to move forward. So if you recall, there were 5 or 6 different alternatives initially. Those were reviewed after the public hearings and meetings in January. Subsequent to that, the project team went back and came up with a couple of new alternatives and some new facets even relating to the gatehouse and stuff. But let me just stick with the parking lot. And mainly those 2 alternatives were fairly simple. One was to move the parking lot back fully behind the 50-year line and leave the off-road trail where it is. That was option 8, I think, and the other was to move the parking lot back and also move the ORV trail to the top of the hill. Moving the ORV trail creates a lot of issues. It creates issues permitting-wise. It creates issues just design-wise. And it also received quite a bit of public feedback in the negative. So the project team, in discussions we had, a month or so ago, voted to recommend option 8, which is to leave the off-road trail where it is and focus on the parking lot, which has always been the main prize here. So that option is, we want to move it forward. And so I think a key step in that is to have the Sandy Neck board make that recommendation to the town council through our vote, and that, just continue this project. They're starting to work already. They just got, I can't be sure, I know there was a capital request last town council meeting for another $50,000 to keep the project moving, to do the additional work. Some of that's probably needed around the gatehouse, because that is another element to this, is moving the gatehouse, as you know. That's a pretty uncontroversial element to this, so I don't really think it's critical that we get involved in voting on that. It's really more of an operational thing, I think. So things are progressing. And I think we've kept this in front of the right people at the right time with the right information, so that's been good. Good communications is key in something like this. So what I want to do tonight is, this is a little bit complicated, so I actually drafted a resolution that I can send you, I can give you now, rather than trying to do it in real time, because I'd like to get a vote on this tonight. If you guys can just move this around. I don't know what else I got here. Just a bunch of different copies. There's a little bit more on here than we really need to have. It's mainly the last two paragraphs that are critical, but I just wanted to kind of leave,
Behind you.
paint the picture as best I could in terms of what we're doing here. So I'll just read it, and then what I'd like to do is mainly focus on if there's some wordsmithing we need to do in the resolution. If anybody has any major questions related to the decision to recommend this project, let's do that as well, and then let's have a vote. So I guess I'd open it first to say, is there anybody that has any major concerns or questions that we should discuss ahead of forming the resolution? Go ahead.
So I didn't really fully comprehend, until the last meeting that we had in April, what was happening with the parking lot spots, the numbers. And it appears that actually was very unclear as to how many parking spots we actually have now versus how many we'll end up with this reconfiguration. And the number that was thrown out at that meeting was maybe we'd be short 25 parking spaces. And I think that that's a large percentage, based on what we have. If it's, 200 parking spaces or 220 parking spaces, percentage-wise, that's a lot. And I'm not sure why we would be giving that up. If we're keeping the same impervious area to satisfy, the conservation groups, the regulators, and this and that, why it is that we're not keeping the same number of parking spots. And I feel it's important because accessibility to beaches on Cape Cod and in Barnstable, it's an issue, especially since during the summertime, they're turning away people on a sunny day. And I think we should be doing, at a minimum, maintaining the existing number of parking spaces that we have. If we have to lose a couple, then that's fine. If we have to lose a couple because of the, handicap accessibility, then that's fine. Excuse me, I understand that. But I think we're giving up too much, and it needs to go back to the design group to redesign it so that we preserve the number of parking spaces that we should have. And it'll also impact us economically because we'll have lesser revenues. I don't know if you're allowed to.
Tom, you're not allowed
close
to
it.
shut the door.
Yeah. So, there's a lot of people that depend upon that beach. It's one of the better beaches, in my opinion, in Barnstable. And it's on the north side, and, there's a lot of demand for that. And to cut back on that accessibility, I think is very important. I think we really need to think about that and make a conscious decision as far as what we're doing. And, once we get this approved with 25 fewer parking spaces or whatever that number really is, we'll never get that back. It'll be like, losing it to a storm. And I just think that that's something we need to really discuss, and
Yeah, I mean, can I address that
yes.
quickly? I mean, obviously, there are a number of factors here, one of which is not that the team is trying to make fewer, end up with fewer spots, okay? So the team will, or the project design will try to optimize the spaces as best we can, but you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. Our project objective is to get the parking lot back. In doing that, there's all kinds of construction-related issues. There's the fact that when you do a new parking lot now, you have to go under today's standards, which means parking spaces have to be a certain size, and placement of parking spaces, handicap, other things like that have to be considered. So you can't always take 100 square feet with 10 parking spaces, and then it was done in 1975, and then take it today and make it 10 parking spaces. So there's a limit to how much space we can have. So it's really not a particularly complicated problem. It's going to be, we're going to have so much space, and then you're going to go to the design requirements, and then you're going to plug in the number of spaces you can get within that design requirement to be legally permittable. Yeah, I mean, the project team is going to try to put as many parking spaces as they possibly can in there. That's not an objective that's not on the list, I mean, so to speak. So I think we have to wait and see. It's another, like I said, we're 30% design level right now. Main issue right now is to get conceptual agreement on what we're doing, so we kind of have a focus. We know kind of where we're headed. The details on, where walkways are going to go, and if we're going to build a wall here, or if there's going to be a parking space, I think are, still to be determined. I think you're absolutely correct. We want to maximize as much as we can the parking, and I still think there's a lot of, even in that upper parking lot, we were talking about the fact that there's some potential redesign from this that could be done. So, there's definitely some options that still may be open to us, but at the end of the day, it may be we lose some parking spaces and there won't be anything we can do about it. So we'll have to just see how it plays out with the, we can't create space. So it's either there or it isn't, and then we're going to have to go with, whatever the design requirements or legal requirements are for the spots and handicaps and pathways and all the other stuff. So we also have to put drainage in there. I mean, that's another key element, right? Because we're trying to avoid the continuation of Lake Sandy Neck. So that inevitably takes up some space. So, there's going to be some trade-offs. I don't think we're going to pull this off with exactly, replicating what we have and still accomplishing the overall objective. At least that's probably unlikely. But we'll see. I don't know. It'll be an issue for us, the team, to discuss, for sure,
So why can't we reconfigure it so that we save the same number of spaces? I'm not sure I understand.
It's different, they're different sizes, and the other thing is that, I don't know if you realize, we've lost a ton of spaces already because of the encroachment of that dune folding back over. So we've had, over the last 4 or 5 years, way less spaces. If we hearken back to 2016, when all this started, we were told very specifically, we will not get any more spaces than what the town has figured out that we were going to that we have. We lost spaces in '78 with the blizzard.
Yeah.
And so there's a certain amount of spaces, and I don't quote me, it was like 119 or something like that.
Lot,
We
yeah.
cannot get any more than that. But because, like Tom said, the requirements, these spaces are too small, the requirements are going to, and they're going to be at a slant. So we have to rely on the engineering part of that to see how many spaces that we can get in there to be legal. And we can't go above that 119. I think it's 119.
Yeah, we have good engineers I've been working with on the team. These guys know what they're doing, and I think they're going to figure it out if there's an opportunity to increase the space.
So something you brought up about the sand dune encroaching. So underneath that sand dune that's been blown back, that's covering some impervious surface.
That's correct. But that's included in that 119.
They've already,
Oh, okay.
All right, so
That was
and
my
that's what-
question.
Right.
They've already
Over the
mapped that.
years, it's been coming over. But that was back in 2016, that's what whatever that number was, and I think it was 119, that was included in that impervious spaces. But we've lost maybe 2 rows of those spaces due to that encroachment of the dune on the upper lot as well as the lower lot.
So you're operating now, currently, last few years anyway, with fewer parking.
That's correct.
Because of that encroachment already.
That's correct. And Lake
So with
Sandy
this
Neck, yeah.
reconfiguration, theoretically, you may end up with actually a little bit more.
That's correct.
Hopefully.
Yep, yep.
Okay, so.
Yeah, I mean, and if we don't get the project done, we may end up with none. So, if this doesn't get done soon, I mean, you never know with the way storms can be. So, I'm sorry, Pete, you were trying to.
Yeah, I just wanted to keep this real simple. We had so much tarmac space in 2016. That's what we're going to get when this goes forward. How that gets divvied up is the next stage of this plan. Just by legal requirements of current standards for parking, we cannot have as many as was legally allowed back in 75 because standards have changed. It's pretty simple.
Yeah.
We can't change the calculus on this. We're going to have the same amount of space.
Right.
In the future design plans, they'll get us as many spaces as we can.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to do, these guys, have the wizardry of all the engineering tools, so they can look at a space and they can configure it 1,000 different ways to try to optimize it. It was something it's hard to do in real time. And they'll do that. I mean, they're going to look for all the
Computers will do all
opportunities.
this.
The computers will figure it out. But, so, we're going to get as many spaces as we get. There's no opportunity to create more space, basically. Not spaces, but space. So we're going to have to just accept that. Anybody else have any?
Well, the other comment too was we would put a slope on the new parking, so there won't be any dip and there won't be any lake.
Ponds?
Yeah. I mean,
It's gonna be
they would
graded.
just have it on a slope.
And
so it would-
drainage.
Well, it's going to be graded to drainage, right? So there's, I think it'll probably be great. I think there's potentially a pool of some kind. They were talking about putting a retention pool down at the end or something to
At
catch.
the very bottom of it?
Yeah,
too?
that's still early, I think. They haven't, I know they haven't done any real drainage design in detail as far as I know, so. But there will have to be some kind of drainage set up there. And again, that's another, challenge, permitting and everything else, so.
So looking at the ORV trail, we're going to keep the old one. If it washes out again like it did in a past storm, we will be able to temporarily use the parking lot to access the beach as necessary until they repair the ORV, the old ORV.
Where would it wash out? You mean up at the top of the hill, you mean?
The old R.
Yeah, no, but you're talking about it washed out, not down.
Wash out.
So if the ORV as it exists now washes out because of one of these big storms, then will we be able to access the front beach by going through the parking lot, at least temporarily?
There is a plan to have a,
Emergency, right?
well, it's emergency, but it's also planned that it would be used, for example, on maybe a Sunday night where, like myself, I have a compressor at home. I'm not going to wait in the line for 3 hours. So they'll be able to let people out that don't really necessarily want to wait in the line. They may have a compressor home and they live close by or whatever. So I think Nina was thinking that would be a escape valve, potentially for some of those real busy nights to come through the parking lot rather than having to wait at the lower air-up area. But yeah, I mean, I guess in an emergency it could be, till they get able to plow it out. I don't know,
Okay.
It's an option you'd have in the future that you don't have now. So, okay. Any other comments? All right. So if you guys, I'm just going to read this and let's just see if there's anything in here that doesn't make sense, and then we'll go. So just a couple of sort of a preamble, really. It says, whereas the Sandy Neck Coastal Resiliency Project team has conducted a thorough evaluation of the various conceptual design options for the project. It has conducted 2 public meetings to gain feedback. This work has resulted in a revised option.
3 public meetings.
Yeah, I guess we could say 3.
Yeah,
Well, there was a Zoom and an in-person in the first one, but
January and February and then April.
no, there were only 2. There was January and April, but we had 2 meetings the first time. Let's not worry about
Yeah, I
that.
was counting the Zoom, yeah.
This work has resulted in a revised option known as conceptual design number 8. Whereas the project team has voted to recommend conceptual design number 8 for continued design progression, which would result in full relocation of the parking lot to behind the 50-year erosion line and would leave the ORV trail in its current location. So that's the kind of background. And whereas the board has considered the recommendation of the project team, which is what we've just done, so now therefore be it resolved that the Sandy Neck Board hereby approves the recommendation of the project team and resolves to vote on the option that has been recommended, namely conceptual design number 8 for continued design progression and funding. I mean, there's also permitting, and but
I'll make a motion to accept this as written and read into the record.
anybody have any other comments about it? That,
Further discussion?
well, on this, not on whether we're going to get parking spaces, just on this resolution.
Yeah, not the parking spaces.
No.
But as far as this goes, should we talk about the money aspect of it? Because option number 8 is something different from all the other options. And part of the decision-making process was in the cost, knowing what it would
Yeah, we
cost.
don't have an updated estimate of the cost for the new option, but it'll be cheaper. So
It'll
that's
be less
usually,
because the ORV
yeah,
has been
it was a big expense.
changed. Do we know what that cost of that ORV was?
Don't have the number yet, but
$500,000 or?
I would
No-
guess
no
it's
idea.
several $100,000 easy. Just guessing. But
So it's the same as, was it 7? Same as 7, option number 7.
I'm not going to try to go back and compare it because I don't remember the numbers. It was option 8 in the second set of recommendations that were made. There were 2 options, 8 and 9. One moved the ORV trail, one didn't. This is the one that doesn't, so let's just stick with the 8.
And it has been the one that has been discussed in our public meetings.
Right, yeah, both of them were discussed, presented, but
And this is the one that, through all the input that we've had,
Right.
through our discussion, that we're making this as the.
right, this was presented to the public as the recommendation of the project team. So we need to, I think it's our job to recommend this to the town council and town manager, which is our responsibility in this role. So that's what we're going to do with this vote.
So
You have some reservations.
I'm
Help
just,
us understand.
Yeah.
it would be helpful if we had numbers to go with.
Well, what would the number do?
Number 7 project was 12.1 million overall.
But if we already
So-
voted on something that was more money, okay, and this will perceivably be less money, and we've already given our approval for the more expensive project, I think that it would be an easy for us to give approval for the less expensive project. And go on good faith, because the good faith needs to be in place, because we have the team, the project team that has been working on it, all right, which is Nina and Tom and other people, and they have a lot of, as Tom has said, experience in this, and we have the good faith that they're not going to recommend a project, okay, that is going to be a couple $1 million more or something.
Yeah, this is just a revision on the one that the board already voted on. That's all it is. That's the only thing it is, and the only revision is that we're not moving the access trail. You guys already voted on this.
And the gatehouse will be moved the 300 or 500
Right,
feet.
it's not going to be.
Which
yeah,
will
we're
still
not
be
putting-
cheaper than building a new one at the top of the hill.
But this is the same thing you voted on before to push forward, except we're just not going to, they've eliminated the access trail move at all. So that's the only change in this. The nuts and bolts aren't here yet. It's just literally the design that they're looking at. We're just going to move the parking lots.
The visual you have to keep in mind is we're trying to move this thing down a funnel. I mean, this is a classic project approach, right? You start out with a lot of ideas, you start out with a lot of concepts, you refine them, you come down the funnel, and you want to be taking the right steps each step of the way. You don't want to get to the bottom of the funnel quickly. You want to take each step you need to take to get to the bottom of the funnel. By the time you get to the bottom, if it's done right, you've got a really good project, well approved, well communicated, well funded, all that, right? Funding is a big part of this, no question. And there's probably nobody on this board that's more into numbers than I am. So, but that's a big issue still. I mean, ultimately, we could have every single person in the entire town of Barnstable love this project, but if the town doesn't want to fund it because they have thousands of other projects they have to fund, that could happen. So we can't control that, but we can control presenting a reasonable project that's responsible. And I think by taking some of the cost out, which we've done in this case, as well as responding to public feedback, it's a huge wins on a couple counts. We get to go to the town and say, hey, look, this is cheaper. It's in alignment with our feedback, and that's a positive. So we're just refining this thing. We're probably going to have 5 more votes before we're done with this, before we get to the end, and I'm sure one of them will be, where we have more refined costs, but it's just not where we are now. So what we're doing is basically, as Donna said, just taking a couple options we voted on last time, which were more general, starting to bring it into more focus with specific options so the team can use its money wisely instead of trying to, do studies of 5 different options. So that's where we are. I don't think, I think we should just go to a vote and get this moving along.
Can we just add the language then that
Yeah.
conceptual design number 8 includes leaving the ORV trail where it is and moving the gatehouse, how many feet is it, 300 feet?
I don't know how many feet. I don't want to vote on the gatehouse because that's still something that's up in the air at this point and being studied. They haven't done all the work yet on the wetlands issues up there and stuff like that. So, and I don't want to lose focus on the parking lot. 'Cause
And that's our goal.
that's what we have to-
Tonight is the parking lot only.
If we end up with a gatehouse moved and a parking lot not moved, we failed, period. So we have to keep focused on the main part of the project, the highest cost part of the project, and the most important part of the project, so, in my view. So this does say exactly that in terms of the off-road trail. And I didn't want to complicate this by getting into gatehouses and, sanitation systems and all the other things that are going to have to be done with this, which clearly will have to be done. But this is really saying to the town, we agree with the project team. We're in unison. We need to move forward on this concept. Lots of detail to come. I mean, even at 60% design, there'll be a lot of detail, still to come. So, all right. So can we move forward to a vote?
Come on, Bill, I'll even let you say second motion.
Somebody
The
needs to-
hesitation I have is we don't know what design number 8 really is. It's moving, it's leaving the ORV trail as is, and I thought, was moving the gatehouse just the 300 or 500 feet. I thought that's what number 8 was.
Yeah,
I'm
it-
trying to just get to the point where I can get my head around what is design number 8, because we've had so many designs.
Well, this is it.
Well, that's it.
This is it.
That's it.
What you have in front of
staring at
you
it.
is design number 8, and not including the gatehouse.
Oh,
'cause
it
we're-
does not show the gatehouse.
It does not show the
Okay,
gatehouse right now, so
okay.
this is just the parking lot. It's the only thing that you guys are going to vote on tonight is in agreement with what the design team has come up with, that it's just a parking lot to agree to move it back to the 50-year, behind the 50-year floodplain.
Can we put number 8 on this document? We'll call this number 8.
Call-
Right, whatever you want.
Acceptable?
We can-
Okay.
Exhibit 8.
It actually should have been done.
Exhibit
It
number
should have been done
8,
that way in the
exactly.
presentation. It would have been simpler because
Yeah.
We'll redo that, but it will, in the minutes, I will make sure it says Exhibit 8. Okay? All right.
Thank you.
Okay, so what I need is
I'll second it.
a resolution to accept this resolution as written, and then
did.
somebody to second
I-
it. So you've done that?
I
Did,
made the
and I
motion and
seconded.
Okay.
and Bill seconded. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. Okay,
Thank you for all your work on this.
No, that's
I
okay.
do appreciate it.
That's okay. No, I read your note you sent in, and which captured a lot of that stuff, to the team. So it's there. It's it's stuff that we're gonna obviously they'll be considering as they go through this. And cost is a big issue, no doubt. So
We won't know about cost until it goes out to bid anyway.
yeah, you don't really. We're so far away from really being able to cost this in any kind of detail. It's okay. I think that's it in terms. I don't have any new business, so we'll open a public comment. You guys have any? As always, thank you for being here. You guys are stars for showing up all the time. Appreciate that.
If I could just say something, there's been a lot of articles recently in the papers about coastal resiliency. They're
Yeah.
using the same terminology that we started using years ago. And, the Wellfleet is getting, I forget what it said now, $12 million from the government. And there's money being spread around all over the place. And I'm sure our grant writing people know how to access that money that's out there.
Yeah, it's going to be a key component. I mean, that's, we have, as I said, there's a guy from CZM on the project team. He's been really great to work with, and they've been very supportive. I don't know whether we'll be able to fund it all through grants or whether we're going to have to do bonds or, at this point, I don't know. But
Good
and we,
combination.
yeah, but I would guess there'll be some debt in this in the end, but which will be a cost to the beach, as it operates. But yeah, I mean, it's maybe a better time now than it was 6 years ago from a funding standpoint. I don't know. Although the way banks are going right now. Yeah, go ahead.
I would like to point out that if we had had this shovel-ready and already decided with this board and with our town councilors, if we had a shovel-ready, this would have been an easy go as this money hit the road. Now we're competing with all these other places. So we lost out by dragging our feet.
And it
I
probably,
think we will get some funding, but we're competing at this point.
probably would have been a quarter of the expense.
Well, it would have been cheaper, because things are cheaper.
Yeah.
Even a couple years ago.
Costs have gone up a lot, as everybody knows, so that's an issue. And so have interest rates, which is another issue. So the bonds will be more expensive. So although I think that's going to start to change, but so we'll see.
So being a scientist well involved with climate resiliency and global climate change, this has been frustrating, sort of how slow this project went for our town of Barnstable.
Yeah.
Yeah, towns. I mean, I came out of a business that moved at kind of lightning speed. And to me, this kind of glacial, operation of towns is a little tricky to maneuver. But look, this is what we have to work within, and part of the art of it is learning how to do that effectively. And I think that so far, I know Nina. I speak for Nina and her team. I think they feel pretty good about where we are. I think the project teams feels pretty good about it. I think most, you guys do. So I think the public does, from what I can tell. So
I think we're further ahead than we were in 2016.
Yeah,
I'm happy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, look, everything, all we can do is keep it moving and keep it alive and keep it properly managed. So try to do.
Next.
Okay, a motion to adjourn from somebody?
Oh,
I can't make that. Oh, no, public comment, sorry.
Yeah, public input, sorry.
Sorry. I thank you that I didn't cut you off.
Good job.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thanks, everybody. Appreciate it.